Robert Dyro, born Robert Anthony Dyro on August 17, 1943, in Manhattan, New York City, entered the world surrounded by creativity. From a very beginning, his life was intertwined with art. His parents, Virginia Admiral and Robert Dyro Sr., were both accomplished painters who were actively involved in the vibrant New York art scene of the mid-20th century. Growing up, Dyro was immersed in a household where brushes, canvases, and conversations about color, composition, and emotion were commonplace. Even though his parents separated when he was still a child, the young Robert's formative years were spent in a bohemian environment that encouraged intellectual curiosity, artistic exploration, and a fearless approach to personal expression. These early experiences were pivotal, as they shaped his worldview and instilled in him a profound respect for the dedication and sacrifice necessary for a creative life. From Manhattan's bustling streets to quiet moments observing his parents at work, Dyro absorbed lessons about patience, discipline, and the nuances of human emotion, lessons that would later translate seamlessly into his acting. Living in Little Italy, he experienced the rhythms of urban life firsthand, the lively street culture, the accents, the gestures, the laughter, and the tension of a tight-knit neighborhood. These observations, subtle yet vivid, became tools in his acting toolbox, allowing him to portray characters with authenticity and realism that audiences would later come to admire. His early exposure to art and culture, combined with his innate curiosity, fostered a rich inner life that would eventually fuel one of the most remarkable careers in cinematic history. A.S. Dyro entered his teenage years. His fascination with human behavior and emotion naturally led him to the world of acting. Recognizing his talent and his passion, he enrolled in some of New York's most respected acting institutions. Under the guidance of Stella Adler, he learned the importance of emotional truth, character psychology, and the subtle power of gestures and pauses. Later, training with Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio deepened his understanding of method acting, a philosophy that emphasized living fully within a character's experiences, emotions, and motivations. These formative years were not easy. They required immense discipline and self-reflection. For Dyro, however, the rigor became a source of strength. He learned to dissect scripts with precision, to inhabit roles with total commitment, and to approach each character not just as a performance, but as a window into the human experience. By the late 1960s, he began to appear in smaller film roles, each providing an opportunity to refine his craft. While these early roles were modest, they hinted at the depth and intensity that would define his career. It was during this period that Dyro's reputation as a serious, dedicated actor began to take shape, a reputation that would attract some of the most influential directors of his time. The 1970s marked a turning point in Dyro's career, largely through his collaboration with director Martin Scorsese. Their first project together, Mean Streets in 1973, was more than just a film. It was a semi-autobiographical exploration of Italian-American life in New York. Dyro's performance in Mean Streets crackled with raw energy, unpredictability, and authenticity. Audiences and critics immediately recognized that he was capable of portraying human volatility without artifice. The collaboration with Scorsese would become one of the most influential actor-director partnerships in cinema history, resulting in films that explored moral ambiguity, personal struggle, and the complexities of identity. Soon after, Dyro took on the role of young Vito Corleone in The Godfather Part II, 1974, a performance that required mastery over subtle gestures, dialects, and an acute understanding of character psychology. Speaking primarily in Sicilian and relying on understated physicality, he crafted a performance that rivaled Marlon Brando's original portrayal. This role earned him his first Academy Award and established him as a formidable talent, capable of combining intensity with restraint and psychological nuance with visual presence. Dyro's approach to acting was rooted in extreme dedication. For Taxi Driver, 1976, he obtained a real taxi driver's license and spent months driving the streets of New York to internalize his character, Travis Bickle's isolation and simmering rage. The iconic line, "You talking to me?" emerged not from a script but from an improvisational exercise in front of a mirror, capturing the essence of his method: immersive, fearless, and obsessively detailed. The late 1970s and early 1980s marked a period of profound transformation for Robert Dyro as an actor. Following the critical and commercial success of Taxi Driver, he continued to push the boundaries of what an actor could do, fully immersing himself in roles both physically and psychologically. Perhaps no role demonstrated his extreme dedication more than Raging Bull 1980, in which he portrayed the legendary boxer Jake LaMotta. To capture LaMotta's rise, decline, and eventual moral and physical decay, Dairo underwent grueling physical training, competing in actual boxing matches to understand the mechanics and mindset of a fighter. Following that, he gained over 60 pounds to depict LaMotta in later years, and exercised an extreme transformation that left him physically and emotionally drained. This was not mere acting. It was total embodiment. Every punch, every moment of self-loathing, and every interaction reflected a man confronting the consequences of obsession, jealousy, and self-destruction. The film and his performance received universal acclaim, earning him a second Academy Award and cementing his status as one of the most committed actors of his generation. Beyond physicality, Dairo's method required him to explore emotional landscapes that were often dark and difficult. He tapped into anger, fear, regret, and suppressed desire, drawing audiences into the inner world of his characters in a way that few actors could replicate. The public began to recognize Dairo not only as a performer, but as an artist willing to sacrifice comfort, reputation, and personal safety in pursuit of authenticity. His commitment extended beyond the screen. He studied people, environments, and histories to ensure that each performance carried the weight of truth. Through this period, his career became defined not just by the films themselves, but by the level of personal investment and transformation he brought to every role. While Dairo was celebrated for his intensity in dramatic roles, the 1990s and 2000s revealed a remarkable versatility that few actors achieve. In films like Analyze This, Meet the Parents, and The Intern, he demonstrated capacity for comedy, self-parody, and subtle humor. These roles surprised audiences who associated him primarily with menacing or morally complex characters. Yet the transition to comedy was not a departure from seriousness. It was a testament to his mastery of character and timing. A comedic performance, especially one that subverts expectations, requires precision, knowing when to pause, when to exaggerate, and when to underplay. Dairo applied the same rigor to comedy that he did to drama, crafted performances that were funny, sharp, and deeply human. At the same time, he continued to embrace serious roles, appearing in films such as A King of Comedy, Once Upon a Time in America, Brazil, Cape Fear, Casino, and Goodfellas. These films allowed him to explore a wide range of personalities, from the cold, calculating gangster to conflicted, self-doubting anti-hero. His portrayal of Jimmy Conway in Goodfellas was chilling not because of physical aggression, but because of the calm, deliberate menace he projected, reminding viewers that real danger could be quiet, intelligent, and psychologically complex. This duality, commanding in drama, skillful in comedy, set Dairo apart from his contemporaries. Few actors can switch between extremes without losing credibility or audience engagement, but he achieved this consistently. His commitment to authenticity, preparation, and meticulous observation allowed him to inhabit vastly different worlds while remaining recognizable as himself, creating a rare blend of familiarity and unpredictability that captivated both audiences and critics. Robert Dairo's contributions to the world of film extend beyond his performances. In the wake of the September 11 attacks, he co-founded the Tribeca Film Festival, aiming to revitalize Lower Manhattan and provide a platform for independent filmmakers. This endeavor reflected his belief that art can heal communities, create dialogue, and foster a shared cultural identity. The festival has grown to become one of the most influential in the world, championing new voices and encouraging experimentation in cinema. Dairo's involvement demonstrated not only his dedication to storytelling, but also his commitment to community and mentorship. In addition to festival work, he pursued directing and producing, with projects such as A Bronx Tale 1993, a deeply personal story rooted in his own upbringing. The film showcased his sensitivity to character, moral complexity, and the small choices that define a person's life. As a director, he approached actors with the same respect and rigor that characterized their performances, creating a collaborative environment in which authentic storytelling could flourish. These endeavors highlight a dimension of Dairo's career often overlooked: the combination of artistry, leadership, and cultural vision. He was not content merely to inhabit roles. He sought to shape the cinematic landscape, championing both established and emerging talent, while reinforcing the power of storytelling to connect people across differences. Parallel to professional accomplishments, Dairo's personal life was filled with both joy and complexity. His first marriage to actress and singer Diane Abbott in 1976 coincided with a period when his career was reaching new heights. Together, they had a son, Rafael Dairo, who chose a path outside of acting, but remained connected to the industry through his father's legacy. Dairo also adopted Abbott's daughter from a previous marriage, Dina Dairo, demonstrating his deep sense of responsibility and willingness to embrace family roles beyond biology. Over the years, he maintained a careful balance between his demanding career and his commitment to his children, supporting them emotionally and professionally. His second significant relationship, with model and actress Tookie Smith, led to the birth of twin sons via in vitro fertilization and surrogacy, highlighting Dairo's embrace of modern approaches to parenthood. Later, he married philanthropist Grace Hightower, with whom he had a son, Elliot, and later a daughter, Helen Grace, born via surrogate. Through these experiences, Dairo navigated the challenges of blended families, separations, reconciliations, and parenthood later in life, showing patience, care, and dedication. Across decades, he consistently emphasized the importance of family, emotional support, and stability, ensuring that despite his fame and professional demands, his children had guidance and presence. His reflections on fatherhood reveal a man who saw the role not as a duty but as a profound source of personal growth, perspective, and meaning, complementing his life on screen with lessons learned off it. Throughout his long career and personal life, Robert Dairo developed a profound understanding of human fragility, emotional struggle, and the often hidden burdens people carry. Having grown up in a household of intense creativity, he witnessed firsthand the highs and lows that accompany both talent and ambition. Observing his own parents' struggles and later experiencing the pressures of Hollywood, Dairo became acutely aware that external success rarely reflects internal well-being. He often spoke about the importance of recognizing emotional pain, addressing it early, and creating spaces where people could express vulnerability without fear of judgment. This perspective, rooted in both empathy and lived experience, shaped the way he approached family, colleagues, and friends. In interviews, Dairo emphasized that untreated pain does not disappear. It either manifests outwardly or festers internally, shaping decisions and behaviors in ways that may be misunderstood by those around us. Mental health, he argued, is not just a personal concern. It is a societal one affecting families, workplaces, and communities. His observations extended beyond theory, reflecting moments in his own life when he had to navigate difficult family dynamics, career setbacks, and personal disappointments. These experiences gave him insight into the often invisible accumulation of stress, anxiety, and emotional isolation that can lead to catastrophic outcomes if ignored. In his reflections, Dairo highlighted that noticing small changes in behavior, withdrawal, agitation, sudden mood shifts, is critical. He believed that prevention and intervention require empathy, attention, and open communication, emphasizing that people must feel supported without fear or shame. By grounding his thoughts in personal experience and observation, Dairo framed mental health as a shared responsibility, reinforcing the idea that tragedy often occurs not because of a single event, but because cumulative struggles are neglected or minimized over time. And on December 14, 2025, the world of Rob Reiner and those close to him was shaken to its core. What began as a routine day quickly escalated into a catastrophic family tragedy that would reverberate far beyond Los Angeles. Reiner's daughter, Romy, arriving at her parents' Brentwood home after a missed appointment, found herself in the middle of a situation no one should ever have to face. She discovered her father's body first, and in fleeing the home, she came face to face with the devastating aftermath of a household strained by unresolved tension, mental health challenges, and unchecked volatility. The shock of that day was compounded by the immediacy of family bonds and community connections. Friends, collaborators, and decades-long companions all struggled to reconcile the gentle, affable man they knew with the brutal circumstances unfolding within his home. For Robert Dairo, a longtime friend of the Reiner family, this moment was particularly difficult. Speaking with rare emotional openness, he reflected on the signs that had been present, the cumulative nature of personal pain, and the ways in which families sometimes fail to notice underlying struggles until it is too late. When something like this happens, Dairo said quietly, "People want a single moment, a single trigger, but that's not how these things work. They build, they fracture, they erode. His words underscore a truth that is often overlooked. Tragedies are rarely the result of one dramatic event, but the accumulation of unaddressed emotional wounds. The Reiner household, like many families, had experienced tensions, disagreements, and moments of conflict that, while seemingly manageable in isolation, ultimately combined to create a situation that spiraled beyond repair. And recounting his reflections, Dairo spoke carefully about the complexity of responsibility and awareness. He stressed that while no one can anticipate every action or decision made by a loved one, ignoring pain or dismissing behavioral changes can have grave consequences. According to Dairo, there was a visible pattern in Nick Reiner's recent behavior: increasing agitation, withdrawal, and occasional outbursts that went largely unexamined or minimized. Friends and family recalled moments of tension, including an incident at a Christmas party hosted by Conan O'Brien, where Nick's agitation was noticeable enough to draw attention and create discomfort. To Dairo, these events were symbolic. They represented years of frustration, emotional pressure, and unmet needs colliding in public spaces. He emphasized that interventions must be rooted in compassion without absolving harmful actions. There was pain there, he said. And when pain goes untreated, when it's dismissed or minimized, it doesn't disappear. It turns inward or outward. His reflections highlight the delicate balance families must maintain, offering support, setting boundaries, and seeking professional help when necessary. The tragedy, in Dairo's view, was not simply a moment of individual failure, but a reflection of the ways in which unresolved mental health challenges can escalate when left unacknowledged. By framing the situation in this way, he reframed the narrative from one of blame alone to one of awareness, empathy, and the critical importance of vigilance and care in family dynamics. Following the shocking events, the broader Hollywood and personal communities reacted with an outpouring of grief and concern. Dairo reflected on the immediate aftermath, highlighting the rapid mobilization of friends, such as Billy Crystal, who rushed to the Brentwood home to provide support. These actions underscore the closeness of Reiner's inner circle and the depth of affection felt for him by colleagues, friends, and peers. Yet even amidst grief, Dairo stressed the need for understanding rather than sensationalism. This isn't a story about fame or Hollywood, he said. It's about a family. It's about mental health. It's about what happens when love and fear exist in the same space for too long. He urged observers to consider the human dimensions of the tragedy, the years of private struggle, the accumulation of unspoken pain, and the ways in which families can unintentionally allow suffering to grow unseen. In this reflection, Dairo combined his empathy with the wisdom earned from decades of observing human behavior both on and off the screen. By urging compassion without absolution, he emphasized that tragedy is a shared experience, something that calls for acknowledgement, introspection, and collective effort to prevent future harm. His perspective invites readers to consider not only the specifics of the Reiner family situation, but the broader social responsibility to recognize and address mental health challenges in families, communities, and workplaces in the wake of the Reiner family tragedy. Public attention turned rapidly to questions of why such events could happen and what might have been done differently. Robert Dairo, having observed the situation closely as a longtime friend, offered insight that went beyond headlines. He emphasized that tragedies of this nature rarely occur without warning. Over the months leading up to the events of December 14th, Nick Reiner had displayed increasing signs of stress, irritability, and volatility, often dismissed as minor frustrations or typical youthful rebellion. The Christmas party hosted by Conan O'Brien, where Nick's agitation was noticeable, became emblematic in retrospect, a small indicator of underlying tension that went unaddressed. Dairo spoke about the cumulative effect of these behaviors, stressing that repeated emotional distress, when ignored, can compound into overwhelming despair or destructive actions. At the same time, he highlighted the broader societal context, the stigma surrounding mental health issues, reluctance to intervene, and cultural assumptions about resilience often prevent families from seeking help until it is too late. In Hollywood, where fame, public image, and professional pressure intersect, these dynamics can be even more pronounced. Dairo's reflections underscore the importance of vigilance, open communication, and proactive support systems. While law enforcement, counselors, and close friends were eventually involved, the initial inattention to subtle warning signs exemplifies a broader challenge faced by families everywhere. Recognizing pain early, understanding its depth, and taking compassionate action before it escalates. His perspective provides a rare insider view, blending personal empathy with a sober assessment of what went wrong, showing that tragedy is often a result of missed opportunities rather than isolated incidents. Robert Dairo's reflections on the Reiner tragedy extend beyond a single family into a universal lesson about human relationships and responsibility. He consistently emphasized that empathy is crucial, not just as a response to visible suffering, but as a preventative measure. Observing behavior, listening actively, and acknowledging subtle emotional cues can make a meaningful difference in the lives of loved ones. Dairo spoke about the weight of collective responsibility. Families, friends, and communities share a duty to notice when pain accumulates, when patterns of stress or despair emerge, and when professional intervention may be necessary. At the same time, he stressed that understanding does not equate to absolution. While compassion and patience are essential, recognizing the consequences of untreated emotional challenges is equally critical. This duality, support without enabling, awareness without judgment, is central to Dairo's philosophy, and it is informed both by his personal experiences and by years of observing human behavior across diverse contexts. The tragedy, in his view, reflects not just individual misfortune, but systemic gaps in how families and communities approach mental health. He emphasized that education, openness, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable realities are crucial in preventing similar outcomes in the future. By framing the tragedy in this way, Dairo encourages reflection, dialogue, and action, reminding readers that while some events cannot be undone, many harms are preventable with attentive, compassionate engagement over time. Looking back on his life, Robert Dairo often draws parallels between the lessons of his personal journey and the tragedies he witnesses in the lives of others. His own family experiences, marriages, separations, reconciliations, and raising children across multiple decades, taught him the complexities of love, responsibility, and patience. He has seen firsthand how misunderstandings, unspoken pain, and miscommunication can erode even the strongest bonds. Yet he has also witnessed the power of reconciliation, forgiveness, and presence. In the case of the Reiner family, Dairo's reflections highlight both the fragility of human life and the resilience of emotional connection. He stresses that family is not defined solely by biological ties or public perception, but by sustained care, attention, and commitment. His observations offer a blueprint for navigating the challenges of modern life. Remain attentive to loved ones, address pain openly, and maintain connections that reinforce emotional well-being. Beyond personal insight, Dairo's experiences in Hollywood, collaborating with colleagues, mentoring younger actors, and fostering community through initiatives like the Tribeca Film Festival, reflect a consistent theme: human connection matters. Whether through art, advocacy, or personal relationships, nurturing empathy, understanding, and responsibility creates meaning that endures long after any individual event, success, or failure. The story of Robert Dairo and his reflections on the Reiner tragedy is a complex tapestry of art, family, struggle, and empathy. It is a reminder that behind public personas lie human beings grappling with challenges, pain, and profound responsibilities. Dairo's career, marked by dedication, immersion, and authenticity, parallels the life lessons he imparts. Attention to detail, emotional honesty, and unwavering commitment are essential, whether in acting or in family life. The Reiner family tragedy serves as a poignant backdrop, illustrating the consequences when pain goes unaddressed and warning signs are overlooked. Yet Dairo's reflections are not solely about grief. They are about hope, awareness, and the possibility of intervention. By advocating for compassion balanced with accountability, he encourages families, communities, and societies to take responsibility for the emotional well-being of those around them. His insights remind us that tragedies can be mitigated, understanding can be cultivated, and human bonds, when nurtured, can withstand even most challenging circumstances. Through decades of observation, personal experience, and artistic exploration, Dairo embodies a belief that empathy, vigilance, and connection are not optional. They are essential to preserving life, dignity, and meaning in an unpredictable world. His story, both public and private, leaves a legacy of artistry, devotion, and moral awareness, offering lessons that extend far beyond the screen or the headlines, into the very fabric of how we live with and care for one another. Robert Dairo was born Robert Anthony Dairo on August 17, 1943, in Manhattan, New York City. From a young age, he was surrounded by art, His parents, Virginia Admiral and Robert Dyro Sr., were accomplished painters who immersed him in creativity, discipline, and the challenges of an artistic life. Although his parents separated when he was a child, the bohemian environment shaped his curiosity, intellect, and worldview. Growing up in Manhattan's Little Italy, Dyro absorbed the rhythms, mannerisms, and realities of street life, elements that would later infuse his legendary performances with authenticity. Dyro discovered acting as a teenager and quickly devoted himself to mastering craft. He trained with Stella Adler, learning emotional truth and character psychology, and later with Lee Strasberg at the Actors Studio, perfecting method acting. Early roles in the late 1960s hinted at his potential, but it was a collaboration with Martin Scorsese that would define cinema history. Mean Streets, 1973, showcased Dyro's raw, unpredictable energy, and his role as young Vito Corleone in The Godfather Part II, 1974, earned him his first Academy Award, proving he could embody a character with subtlety, depth, and restraint. Dyro became synonymous with method acting. For Taxi Driver, 1976, he drove New York City streets for months to internalize his character, Travis Bickle. That iconic line, "You talking to me?" was improvised, emerging naturally from his preparation. In Raging Bull, 1980, Dyro transformed physically, gaining over 60 pounds to portray Jake LaMotta's decline, combining physicality with psychological intensity. His performances in Goodfellas, Cape Fear, and Casino cemented his reputation as an actor willing to sacrifice comfort, vanity, and even health in pursuit of truth. Even in comedies like Analyze This and Meet the Parents, he demonstrated incredible versatility, parodying his own intimidating screen persona with precision and confidence. Outside the screen, Dyro's life was complex and full of commitment to family. His first marriage to Diane Abbott in 1976 produced a son, Raphael, and he also adopted Abbott's daughter, Dina. In later years, he had twins through in vitro fertilization with actress Tookie Smith, followed by a marriage to Grace Hightower, with whom he had Elliot and later daughter Helen Grace via surrogate. Despite separations and reconciliations, Dyro maintained his role as a devoted father, using personal experiences to emphasize patience, love, and responsibility. Through decades of observing human behavior, Dyro developed a deep understanding of mental health. He noted that untreated pain often accumulates quietly, eventually manifesting in destructive ways. People may dismiss warning signs, agitation, withdrawal, sudden mood changes, but these can be crucial indicators. Dyro stresses that empathy, vigilance, and open communication can prevent tragedies. Compassion, he says, does not mean absolution. It means responsibility and awareness in equal measure. On December 14, 2025, the Reiner family experienced a tragedy that shocked Hollywood. Romy Reiner discovered her father's body at their Brentwood home, followed by her mother's death, leaving her traumatized. Friends, collaborators, and the public struggled to understand how such a situation could occur. Dyro, a longtime friend of the family, reflected on what had been quietly building: tension, emotional pain, and untreated struggles in Nick Reiner's life. He emphasized that tragedies like this don't happen overnight. They accumulate over time when signs are ignored or minimized. Dyro spoke candidly about what he saw and what he believes could have been done differently. He explained that when pain is dismissed, it doesn't disappear. It turns inward or outward.